Hi there, I'm Nathan Egan. Welcome back to the Working Actors Journey Rehearsal Room. We have been working on Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 2 this month in our continuing series to explore the play. If you are watching this later, leave your questions and comments about the work you've been seeing over this series. If this is your first session, go back, check out the first few weeks to see what we've been discussing and how we've gotten to this point. We will try to reserve a little bit of time at the end of this session for those in attendance to ask any more questions you have about this material and this portion of the play. And again, if you're listening or watching, please subscribe, hit the like button, notification button, anything you can. And while tonight might be the final session of this workshop scene, what you're seeing is not meant to be a final performance. It's just a continued work in progress. If we got these actors up on their feet, things would continue to change and evolve. And of course, our plan is to continue working on this. The next session will combine Act 1, Scenes 3 and 4. And so we're getting closer and closer to Hamlet actually, talking with the ghost. We will continue posting the weekly sessions on YouTube and our podcast for free for all to enjoy. So be sure to subscribe and click for notifications. Please consider supporting our work to keep this space creative, accessible, and high quality. Links are below if you're watching this later. Thank you to Charles, Terry, Rebecca, Sandy, Lori, and Doug for recent donations. You can also get behind-the-scenes access and other perks through a monthly contribution via Patreon, starting just $5 per month. And thank you to our patrons, some of our patrons, Ebar, Joan, Michelle, Jim, Magdalene, Claudia, Cliff, and Jeff. And if you have any questions, please comment below, as I said. And with that, I will disappear, let the work resume and continue, and I'll be back in a little bit for some Q&A. So have a great session.
Thanks, Nathan. Very puckish of him, wasn't it? Okay, I'm just going to say right at the top of this that this is one of my favorite scenes in the play. I think it's exciting. I think it's wonderful. And sometimes I don't know, it's overlooked or it goes so fast that it's not as rich as I think we're going to find out that it is today, or that you folks who've been with the play know. I thought we would start by just reading it, and then, as usual, we'll discuss it, and hopefully, not hopefully, we will get another reading of it. So I would like Ben to do Hamlet, Liz, if you do Horatio, Larry, if you do Marcellus, and Michelle, if you do Barnardo, and we'll go through it.
And we're picking it up just from the end, right when the soliloquy ended?
Yeah, you can take it from there. That's great.
Great.
Is it going to end, or has it ended?
Are you going to do it from But Break My Heart?
I can do that. I can give the cue in. Sure.
Sure.
But break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
Hail to your lordship.
I'm glad to see you well. Horatio, or I do forget myself.
The same, my lord, and your poor servant ever.
Sir, my good friend, I'll change that name with you. And what make you from Wittenberg, Horatio? Marcellus?
My good lord.
I'm very glad to see you. Good e'en, sir. But what in faith make you from Wittenberg?
A truant disposition, good my lord.
I would not have your enemies say so. No, shall you do mine ear that violence to make it a truster of your own report against yourself? I know you are no truant. But what is your affair in Elsinore? We'll teach you to drink deep ere you depart.
My lord, I came to see your father's funeral.
I pray thee do not mock me, fellow student. I think it was to see my mother's wedding.
Indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon.
Thrift, Horatio. The funeral baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables. Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven, ere ever I had seen that day, Horatio. My father. Methinks I see my father.
Oh, where, my lord?
In my mind's eye, Horatio.
I saw him once. He was a goodly king.
He was a man. Take him for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again.
My lord, I think I saw him yesternight.
Saw? Who?
My lord, the king, your father.
The king, my father?
Season your admiration for a while with an attent ear, till I may deliver upon the witness of these gentlemen this marvel to you.
For heaven's sake, let me hear.
2 nights together had these gentlemen, Marcellus and Barnardo, on their watch in the dead waste and middle of the night, been thus encountered. A figure, like your father, armed at all points exactly, cap a pie, appears before them, and with solemn march goes slow and stately. By them thrice he walked, by their oppressed and fear-surprised eyes within his truncheon's length, whilst they, bestilled almost to jelly with the act of fear, stand dumb and speak not to him. This to me in dreadful secrecy impart they did, and with them the 3rd night kept the watch, whereas they had delivered both in time, form of the thing, each word made true and good, the apparition comes. I knew your father. These hands are not more like.
But where was this?
My lord, upon the platform where we watched.
Did you not speak to it?
My lord, I did, but answer made it none. Yet once, methought, it lifted up its head and did address itself to motion, like as it would speak. But even then, the morning cock crew loud, and at the sound it shrunk in the haste away, and vanished from our sight.
'Tis very strange.
As I do live, my honoured lord, 'tis true, and we did think it writ down in our duty to let you know of it.
Indeed, sirs. But this troubles me. Hold you the watch tonight?
We
We do, my lord.
Armed, you say?
Armed,
my
my
lord.
lord.
From top to toe?
My
My
lord,
lord, from head to foot.
Then saw you not his face?
Oh, yes, my lord. He wore his beaver up.
What, looked he frowningly?
A countenance more in sorrow than in anger.
Pale or red?
Nay, very pale.
And fixed his eyes upon you?
Most constantly.
I would I had been there.
It would have much amazed you.
Very like. Very like. Stayed it long?
While one with moderate haste might tell 100.
Longer.
Not when I saw it.
His beard was grisly, no?
It was, as I have seen it in his life, a sable silvered.
I'll watch tonight. Perchance 'twill wake again.
I warrant you it will.
If it assume my noble father's person, I'll speak to it, though hell itself should gape and bid me hold my peace. I pray you all, if you have hitherto concealed this sight, let it be trouble in your silence still, and whatsoever shall hap tonight, give it an understanding, but no tongue. I will requite your loves. So fare you well. Upon the platform twixt 11, upon the platform twixt 11 and 12, I'll visit you.
Our
Our
duty
duty
to your
to
honor.
your honor.
Your love as mine to you. Farewell. My father's spirit in arms. All is not well. I doubt some foul play. Would the night were come! Till then, sit still, my soul. Foul deeds will rise, though all the earth o'erwhelm them to men's eyes.
Great, good. So let me open it up before I yammer away to questions. I mean, the scene obviously has some questions in it about certainly about Horatio, also about some of the things that we saw in the first scene that don't seem quite to gel in this scene, or there's a little bit of a discrepancy. Obviously, the question of how long the two Barnardo and Marcellus felt it was there, and how the discrepancy with what Horatio, it goes on. I want to say, actually, before I do open it to you, is this is where Act 1, Scene 1 joins with the beginning of Act 1, Scene 2. So everything that we got out of these men encountering that ghost, and everything we've gotten out of Claudius becoming king, and the briefness of the mourning period, and Gertrude marrying, come together. Now we're joining the play. We're joining two pieces of the play here. I say it because I've seen productions that cut the first scene out. I've seen productions that cut the armor out. I can go on. So I'm just trying to show you that, look, if you're going to cut, Randy and I were asked to do a 90-minute production in Hawaii when we first encountered Hamlet. So we know what that's about, but I just want you to know what's important. I think once you figure out what's essential to telling Shakespeare's story of this play, you can make some, I think, better choices in how you trim it or how you cut it or whatever you do with it. But this is the scene where we get that information that we saw, the audience. Hamlet is the only one now who has no idea. We know because we saw that spirit with these men. We saw them encounter the spirit. So now we can be a check on Horatio, and in terms of the description that he puts forth. Becomes very, very exciting. So now let me open it up to you in terms of, again, observations, questions. I just want to get the conversation going, and then we will start to analyze it very closely. Yes.
Is this the time to ask the question that I asked you?
Yes,
I mean, it's very puzzling that he's come to the funeral, but he hasn't yet seen Hamlet. And there's been a month's difference and been a wedding. So has he been there all that time? I mean, all those questions, why haven't they met yet?
Yes. And I think it's one of those things where we're not going to have a definite answer for it. But we do know that, because it's also, as we move through the play, there are things that Hamlet is going to have to inform Horatio about that he might have known had he lived in Denmark, or was, more closely associated. I think the number one is he does not have an association with Claudius. So he was not there for the coronation. He was there for the funeral. Why he stayed longer than that, I don't know, except that a traditional mourning for a king could have lasted up to a year. So if he was devoted to the old king, his expectation would be that he would still be part of funeral rites to this dead king. But that the marriage changed that, right? What was the other? There was later on, Hamlet's going to have to teach him about the custom of drinking. When they're on the drama view, we don't have it in the folio, but he's going to have to instruct. He has to tell him later on who Laertes is. So what I think happens in the play, and I've never seen people who watch the play question it as closely as you and I are questioning it. But I think what's important is his affiliation with Denmark has got to be limited. It has to be an affiliation with the old king and a friendship with Hamlet that allows Hamlet to trust him above anybody else in the play. So I think, I think it's set up that way. The other thing that I think you're going to find in this play is there are, first of all, I may have said this earlier, the number one punctuation mark in this play is the question mark. It's used more than any other punctuation. The other thing is there are so many mysteries within the play. There's, I was reading the other day, the idea that if you look at Othello should not have trusted Iago. You look at Lear should not have divided his kingdom. Macbeth should not have killed the king. In terms of, the main character, the main tragedy, Hamlet hasn't done anything that he shouldn't have done. This is heaped on Hamlet. So this is a play where Shakespeare is saying, you as the audience are going to have to figure out what choices Hamlet should make to throughout the course of the play, to revenge his father's death, to save his soul from hell. All of these things will come up, but it's all questions, and it's not a definite, here's what he did wrong. I think Horatio's part of that questioning. But I think, again, if I were to hang my hat on anything, it would be the friendship that they have and the loyalty to the connection to the old king. There's another thing that's a little side note, and it's not in the play, but it's, if you're kind of a research wonk like I am, you will find that in times of peace, some of the people who served the king, well, two things. It was not uncommon for a king to pick up soldiers from other countries to serve in their army. Okay, so maybe Horatio is not Danish. Again,
I don't think he is. Yeah, I think to go down that path and examine that is interesting.
What have you
And it
discovered?
goes back even to like the lines, who's there, friends to this ground, says Horatio.
That's right.
And liegemen to the Dane. So that creates a distinction that would support that possibility. There are, I think, other things to look at. Sorry.
Well, and people cite at the very end of the play, I'm more an antique Roman than a Dane. There's those little references along the way. And as I said, there are some things that Hamlet has to inform him about, that were he Danish or there, he would have known. It seems he would have known. So I think that that's one of the possibilities. What's the other thing? In times of peace, servants of the king were allowed to go back to school because their school would have been cut off if they had to go to battle. Now, we know that Horatio has seen the old king in that armor when he slew Fortinbras. That's the last battle. He doesn't refer to that armor or any other armor on that old king for any other battle or any other moment since that time. We're going to learn from the gravedigger that was 30 years ago. So if Horatio knew that, and let's face it, it wasn't hanging in a museum. I mean, there's a connection that he has with that spirit in that king in that armor that makes one feel that he knew that battle. I think it's why Randy and I chose to make him older, to make him somebody who was a page or he could have been a very young boy in the service to the old king. But if Hamlet was born 30 years ago, as the gravedigger tells us, then he would be older than Hamlet. And that felt the most comfortable to us. But in terms of going back to school, that was not an uncommon thing for people who were in the king's service to do during times of peace. As I say that, I want to just also remind all of you, 30 years of peace. That's why these men are so upset when they're keeping the watch. We haven't had anybody invade. We haven't had a problem. It's happening now. So we're going to find out, Liz, besides Horatio, we're going to find out things now about this old king. I think that sometimes get overlooked in the play as well. And what this country was like before he was killed. I know that doesn't help answer the question, but it's definitely a mystery. And I think the best I can offer is what's his relationship to Hamlet and the new king. One other thing is Gertrude and Claudius don't call him in to question him about Hamlet or keep watch on Hamlet. they call
Yeah, we always
Rosencrantz
group
and
him
Guildenstern.
with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Oh yeah, he's one of the buddies. It's that kind of generalization that in a 3.5 week rehearsal period gets just tossed into the bowl and mixed up.
I
But,
think, excuse me, one of the things is Hamlet's relationship to Horatio is at Wittenberg.
Yeah.
So their friendship must have been born there, and developed at Wittenberg, because it puzzles Hamlet. Why are you here? Why aren't you in Wittenberg? The other thing is, Horatio's not a character that talks about himself. So he's very mysterious. He doesn't give his life history. He doesn't say anything. The only thing we know, perhaps, is that he was there at the famous battle, and his line, "I knew your father. These hands are not more like." How close was that relationship?
Horatio says, "I saw him once."
Once, right. But why does he phrase it that way at the beginning of this thing?
Well,
and later says, "I knew your father."
Let me add one little thing, please. And
Go
that
ahead.
is, once can mean at one time. It doesn't necessarily mean only once. It
Of course,
carries with it at one time. And the only reason I bring that up is because there's some thinking about Horatio about to tell Hamlet, and he cuts himself off, knowing that he's going to have to tell Hamlet the negative side of what he saw. So he says, "I saw him once. He was a goodly king," almost ensuring what I'm going to say next. You may not think so, because the cock crowing and the signs of a demonic being. That's one of the thinkings behind that once. So it doesn't negate anything anybody's saying. I want us to know it can be linked to the present as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sandy.
I'm sorry, I mean to bring it to an end.
Sandy.
No, not at all. I think that's great.
Yeah, this is probably just stating the obvious, but it really hit me this time. Something, Annie, I agree with you. I love this scene too. But we were talking last week about how the monologue that we just came out of is the quote unquote suicide one, the one that Hamlet is in despair. And by the time he ends the scene, he seems to be full of excitement and purpose.
Yep.
It's like he's gone from, I don't know, I just gotta have to bite my tongue, I guess, to really having purpose.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of love it, because it ends on that note.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely right. But I think the other thing I thought you were going to say, is that when Hamlet finishes the soliloquy and he is in the depths of despair of all of it, and that he has to keep silent about it, of course, when Horatio comes in, that's when there is this beginning of that energy that changes, because it's not anybody from Denmark. It is this friend that he feels so close to. So it's kind of a little bit of a lift there that leads us then to the next series of questions.
I think it's also interesting in noticing and comparing Hamlet's greeting to Horatio, Hamlet's greeting to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, which is very different, and Hamlet's greeting to the players.
Yeah.
Three different, which reveal something about Hamlet.
And
as
even
well
Marcellus and Barnardo.
Yeah.
As well.
Even then.
Yeah.
In this.
He does
right.
have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, well, because and also on top of that, this greeting, he has that fuller greeting to Horatio. Marcellus he acknowledges, and then Barnardo he doesn't know.
And hey, you too.
So you can almost see the different stages of how close he is to each one of them.
Yeah.
So
I get this feeling from the beginning here, and that Hamlet he's seeing things unfold in front of him, but he's also content to sit back and see where they lead to. because he says like, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue at the end of the soliloquy. But then he also says at the end of the scene, would the night were come, till then sit still my soul. It's like he wants to go do something, but no, we have to wait and see how this all plays out yet before we take any kind of action, before we start moving the wrong way, perhaps.
Yes.
Well, except in that second one, he has to wait till night comes.
Right.
It's not quite night yet.
It's the stuff that cliffhangers are made on.
Oh, wait, because Chuck, I want to kiss you, because what you're doing is you're acknowledging the semicolon in that line. And that is what's, I just get thrilled by the folio. But at any rate, I think you're right, is that he's excited about, I want the night to come, but that semicolon lets him shift down. But
that's great. And if he takes the
get a grip.
audience on that ride with all of that, but no,
yes,
because I have to hold my tongue, and the audience goes, no.
yes, and and also this is the beginning of us watching Hamlet not be rash. You know, anybody who says he's a man who can't make up his mind, I think do another play, because the reason that he can't move forward is because he's weighing the consequences of whatever it is he does. And so you start to see within him that tug of, I can't wait for this to happen, and then calming himself, possibly with that semicolon. And I think you're going to find more of that as we move forward, that he is not going to jump. And when he does jump into something rashly in this play, Polonius dies. I mean, we'll find those moments when he does do that. And hopefully, if we're paying attention, we've done a good job, we realize something about rash behavior, and that Hamlet in the end weighing things and coming to the conclusion ultimately that the readiness is the lesson that he'll learn from going through the play.
Also, too, Annie pointed out to me, the word conscience is used more in this play than any other.
Yes.
And I always felt that what you're dealing with Hamlet is a man of conscience.
Yes.
That's
like
why.
everybody's conscience, Gertrude's conscience.
Yes.
You know, Claudius has
Claudius,
a
doesn't
prayer scene. Ophelia has to choose between her father and the man she loves. Laertes, he has the line about conscience before he's going to, touch Hamlet with the poison blade. Everybody has to weigh out. Their conscience is something that happens with almost every character in the play. So I think that we have to pay attention to that. And again, that's why I say conscience has to do with the decisions that will bring about certain results. And in this case, moral results, religious results. I think it's why we have to see this ghost, and we see this ghost for the first time. He does not fall into any one pattern of a Catholic ghost, a Protestant ghost, an atheistic ghost, a demonic ghost, a benevolent ghost. He doesn't fall into that. Why? Because we get to decide. We want to stay and we as the audience get to go on the ride. It's not done for us. That's why whenever I see people want to put a lid on a play like this and say, this is what it is, I want you to see it the way I see it. And Shakespeare's saying, see it the way you do. Here's the mirror, look in. That's the difference. So I want you to let the questions be questions, let the mystery be mystery. But for you guys who have to act it, you do have to make definite decisions in the moment. And that's why I like to steer away from too much emotional baggage that we put on a character or sound. Randy pointed out to me last night, it almost made me give up acting completely, is that when he talks about seams, madam, did you want to say it, Rand? What you told me?
I think any actor who takes on the role of Hamlet takes on a challenge In fact, almost a dare on the playwright's part. I dare you to do what's impossible. Because right from the top in that speech of seams, it dictates the kind of actor, the kind of acting you have to produce, not show, nothing that can be played, you know? But you've actually got to carry the, I have that within which passeth show. And what the challenge of the next thing is the first soliloquy. How are you going to do that? We all know that it's a passionate soliloquy. It's full of passion. But somehow it's got to be totally convincing to the audience that you are who you say you are. You're a still grieving prince. And you must convince that audience of who you are and that your grief is genuine and real. Not an actor putting it on, but genuine. And that's the challenge. That's like, how do you even begin to do that? You know, without showing your hand that I'm acting. And most of the time we fail at it. We show the audience that we're just acting. We're feeling passionate.
I think we show the audience that I want you to believe that I'm feeling. I don't think it's done out of, I don't think, I think it is a really, so remember Morris Karnofsky said it only happened to him twice in his whole career. So it's something you shoot for, but you have to acknowledge how tough it is. But I think that, and then Randy pointed out again, the speech to the players.
Yeah,
what was necessary to happen for them.
My God, I can't
what
wait.
a challenge that Shakespeare has put in front of us.
So much
no
coming up.
So, yeah. So, any other observations or questions? I want to actually, before we do, I just want to ask Liz, because you're pretty schooled in scansion, right?
They're picking up the garbage outside my house, so I turned off my sound. So yes, yes, I've done scansion, yes.
So can I ask, because Lee and I talked a little bit about the beginning of this scene. Are those short lines?
Yes, I was looking at that. Hail, 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 hail to your lordship. Yes. So the question is some hesitation that could be played by the actors to not rush into the next thing. And I think it is, Horatio, I do forget myself, the same, my lord. And then he has a little moment and then comes up with, and your poor servant ever. So, I mean, he wouldn't, if you wanted to do the scansion, you wouldn't rush into it. And it comes up a couple of other times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, also when Marcellus, my good lord, that doesn't finish another line. So there's a huge pause there. Yeah, there's another time. My lord, I think I saw him yesternight. Hamlet says, saw who? And that's all there is on that line. And I would think either the pause is for Hamlet before he says, saw who, or Horatio can take it before he says, before he dares to say, my lord, the king, your father.
Wow.
This is what I meant earlier.
Very dramatic.
And I wanted to check it with Liz, and then Lee, I'm going to open it up to you after this. But this is what I said earlier about whenever the scene is done, people rush through it. Hail to you, I'm glad to see you well. Horatio, I do forget myself. Yourself the same, your lord, and your most servant ever. Oh, I'll change that word. There's a kind of rushing that happens rather than recognition. What are you doing? Anytime somebody has to question, why is somebody here? Am I seeing who I'm seeing? And why would Marcellus be with Horatio? And who is this other guy who's at the court, who somehow waited for the court to exit, and they're coming into the court, not ushered in by any other servants attending on the king. To have those pauses, I think, are essential. That's why I wanted to check with you, because I felt that, and the same thing with the saw who. It's got to be a moment of being stunned, a moment of, what are you talking about? And I think we
Mm.
have to start to play those pauses, because they're not just stops, they're filled with action. Now, a lot of people have suggested that Horatio kneels, that there's an actual physical sign of obeisance to the prince, and Hamlet picks him up. So there's so much we can fill it with. Obviously, if we were in rehearsal, we could work out different things. But I think just to keep in mind that when you're delivering the lines, even on Zoom, to just see what happens with those moments of pausing. And in this case, they're pretty long. It's not just one or two. There's some of them are 4 beats. Some of them are, an action can take place in there. Lee, can you share what you had discovered about it? Because I thought that was pretty good about the guys coming in.
Sure. I do have experience with scansion as well, but have never claimed to like been able to teach it, but I've had extensive experience with it.
Right.
However, it's never been something I have subscribed to as I'm going to scan everything. I studied it for a time that way, and that was a little too rigid for me. Nor am I saying that anyone is doing that. That's my background. So what I see on the page is that those lines are shaped differently. And yes, I can count the beats. And if you try to, instead of, let's see, scansion is ba-dump, 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 not hail with an E if you go folio. So it's hail to your lordship. It's got a different rhythm, poetic rhythm to it. And so all of those do. So I think there's that in it. There are also the feet of the line that are unsatisfied in a verse structure. But to me, I just see opportunity. And then it's like, okay, why are those disjointed? And it's like, okay, how well does he know Horatio and what is the circumstance? Why is Marcellus with Horatio or Horatio with Marcellus? And who is this other soldier and why is he here now of all? So to me, it just helps reinforce the shift of beat. And
Yeah.
it pulls us so beautifully out of Hamlet's introspective moment
Right.
and gets us, transitions us into the forward
Yep.
propulsion of their news. So, and then we see the verse come together. All of a sudden, the verse gets regular.
That's right.
What make you from Witten? I don't think that's even it. Anyway, one of those gets us back onto the verse, and then it just moves so smoothly forward, and then the tension develops. So.
Right. And I only bring it up because it to me, when I looked at it on the page, and I have kind of the background you have where I've studied, but I would never teach it. But I do find that there are on occasions when I'm teaching younger people that they tend to want to make a verse prose. And so because they want it to sound common or natural or whatever.
Ordinary.
And when they lose that, I
Colloquial.
think sometimes they actually lose the interpretation of the line and the energy that you're speaking of in following through with it. But when you see it on the page, and as you all look at your text, they're short, which lets you know something is happening. For me, it's exciting because if you're directing it, then you can now figure out using your imagination, what are the possibilities based on the circumstances. The other thing that started to occur to me is I'm wondering if somebody doesn't somehow check that nobody's listening. Because the other part of this scene that's so important is that it's a secret. Hamlet says, keep it treble, 3 times silent. So the knots, the boys, Barnardo and Marcellus did not tell the world. They went in secrecy to Horatio. Horatio had to get approval from these men that it's in their duty to tell Hamlet. So the secrecy of this, I think, is another thing I would add to when we're directing it, rather than, oh, everybody's gone, nobody can hear. I also read I forgot if it was, I don't know if it was Gielgud or not, but at any rate, I read that one of the productions, when Hamlet said, we'll teach you to drink deep ere you depart, that they actually heard the cannon go off, or laughter in the background, or the presence of that, of what Claudius had promised.
Is that not in the Burton one? I think that's in the
I
Burton
think
one.
we did it.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, because Gielgud.
Yeah, that Gielgud directed that. I think that's in that. Did you
Yeah.
guys do that as well? Okay. Yeah.
I think so.
But, again, we bring all of that to life. What I think is always so wonderful is on a piece of paper that has short spelling and all of the possibilities that blossom out of that. But once that is taken care of, once those greetings happen, now we can get down to the next part of it, which is, why are you here why did you leave Wittenberg? What is your business in Elsinore? That's the next why is Horatio here, from Hamlet. He questions that. So it takes some time for Horatio to get to the meat of why they're there. He has to work through. Liz, this is another moment that I always am interested in, is when Horatio says, a truant disposition, good my lord. You think, well, that's such an odd answer to that.
Yes.
But again,
and is he trying to be cheery, given that he's
just
come with a very
light.
serious message?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing. A lot of people play the end of the soliloquy with Hamlet wiping tears from his eyes, so he can barely see the men, that they've caught him in a personal moment of weeping. And so he has to be pulled out of that. Horatio sees that and wants to offer, somehow create a more light atmosphere, knowing what he's going to have to present. There are all sorts of obvious options that one can have. By the way, I'm reading, I've read it, but I'm back in it, The Masks of Hamlet, which tells you the different performances. I mean, how different actors have performed these different roles. And there's a chapter on Horatio, there's a chapter on Gertrude, there's a chapter, not a chapter, well, yeah, a chapter, but 3 or 4 pages on Claudius. So it's not just how Hamlet was performed, it's the whole play and what choices have been made over the years. But it's kind of interesting, because you can see those that hook it to the circumstances of the play, and those who just have a kind of, well, this might be neat to try this, response. Okay, so the other thing that I want to move on to is how Horatio, after we've gotten the fact that he's come from Wittenberg, and Hamlet has rejected the idea that he's a truant, what happens next? Because now we're heading into the king moment, right?
He says why he's there. He explains what he came for.
Right. And so he says, your father's funeral. I want to make a suggestion, because I think you'll also find that funeral, and I won't dwell on this too long, but that AL, it makes it a long line.
Oh.
So I think what can happen is Horatio may be starting, I came to see your father's funeral, and Hamlet cuts him off. Pray that you not mock me. So that it's not, I came to see your father's funeral, so Hamlet should, acknowledge that or not. But that perhaps what he's saying is, he's about to say, I came to see your father's funeral, and I stayed, and here's what happened next. Because Hamlet comes right in with that thrift Horatio, it's, again, a possibility. I just occurred to me yesterday that there are moments where you feel Horatio starts and something stops it. So again, I think it creates a kind of tension and excitement. So when we get to finally, I think I saw him yesternight, we've built our way there through kind of stops and starts. Yeah, Lee, what were you gonna say?
Well, I hear you going, and it sparked something. This I think about the playing of that moment. I know you are no truant. I would not have your enemies say so, nor shall you do mine ear that violence make a trust or your own report against yourself. It's easy to roll that out in kind with Horatio's attempt at some sense of buoyancy. However, Hamlet is smarter than that, right?
Yes.
And so he's not just merely bantering, he's being witty, but he's also going, wait a minute. Why would you even say that? Why would you make a truancy joke? You of all people. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
And
Here's
then
what
there's a midline stop. Sorry,
I want to kiss you too, because here's what you've just shown us. This is the first moment where we learn how Hamlet sees through people. He will see through Ophelia. He will see through Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. It's initiated here. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Great. And I just want to follow with that period to me in the middle of the line stops the music. And then he picks it back up and says, you're not a truant, right?
Yeah.
And why are you here? And so, so Hamlet kind of takes control.
It's like he's walked into his own intervention and realizes it before he's supposed to. He's like, something you guys are about to, I kind of feel that same. It's like right away. I agree. It doesn't feel like this is the happiest. Oh, I'm so glad to see you, even though there is something wrong with this configuration of people at this time being here right now, even though one of them is my friend. Like there's something truly off-putting about this. I don't know. I think there's something interesting.
Well, certainly questionable. I mean, people don't stroll into castles.
Right.
Come in and say, hi, I'm here. There's a sense of what is this? That's why I may be, doing too much by saying maybe Marcellus or Barnardo looks to see if anybody is around. So Hamlet is really in a sense of what is going on. So I do want to get to the bottom of it,
Well, they can't be at ease, right?
That's right.
They cannot be at ease for any reason.
And
they're in the inner sanctum.
Yes, and you brought up the second half of that, which I also think is important. You are no truant. What's the
What is your affair in Elsinore? We'll teach you to drink deep ere you depart.
No, there's something where he actually talks about, it's before.
Before it. I would not have your enemy say so, nor shall you do mine ear that violence, to make a truster of your own report against yourself.
And I think that's what ties into what you're saying. That's not jokey.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's exactly what I'm saying.
I have a thought about Horatio. It has been decided in the first scene that Marcellus, Barnardo, and Horatio will go tell Hamlet what they have witnessed.
Yes.
They enter the scene. Horatio is a wise enough man that he realizes they can't just barge in where Hamlet is and say, we saw a ghost, we think it's your father. He has to look for the appropriate time to start his story. And I think that comes when Hamlet asks him, what is your affair in Elsinore? Now maybe is an appropriate time to start. And he says, he begins, I came to see your father's funeral. Hamlet breaks him off. And it makes the ironical, satirical thing about, the baked meats furnished the wedding food. He banters a little bit. You're right. That was quite close. And then when Hamlet says, my father, methinks I see my father, boom, he has the opportunity now.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on this. No character acts alone. So whatever plan he has, is interrupted by Hamlet retorting to him with whatever. And so he has to handle in the moment whatever Hamlet handles him. He may have a great, a great plan outside. Here's what we'll do. But what is so wonderful, I think, about the theater is that everything happens in the moment because some other character has provoked you to go there. So I think Larry, I think you're right that those hesitations, but then he has to deal with Hamlet, thrift, Horatio, and look at the content of that. That's something that's hurtful. The fact that his mother married that quickly, now he has to deal with an emotion that may come from him, what he's about to tell that Hamlet about that ghost. He's got to weigh out Hamlet's mood, temperament, so that he can now respond appropriately to all of it. And I think, yes, I think the thing that does happen is my father. Methinks I see my father. My question before we move on from that is, how do you stage it?
Yeah, does Horatio look around?
I've been thinking about that actually, just
it's a short
mere
line,
turn away.
so
A mere turn away. If he's addressing them this direction, that happened. My father.
But it is a short line, so there's space for acting.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
I also have a quick question. At the very beginning, am I wrong in that when Horatio enters and says, "Hail to your lordship," Hamlet doesn't immediately acknowledge him as Horatio? He doesn't see him, and it's only after the colon and the second line, Horatio.
Yeah.
Or I do forget myself.
I talked about that. And Hamlet, I think Hamlet sees him, and as he's seeing him, he realizes who it is. Is that right, Randy? Isn't that what you had suggested?
Yeah, I think that's right too.
When you see people out of place, you often don't recognize them. You see them, but you don't see them because they're in the wrong place or the wrong clothes or something like that. That's very common.
Yeah.
So I think, Larry, yes, I think that the fact is that it's followed by a recognition, but preceded by something that is not, he doesn't just jump right in and say Horatio. I want to say one thing about...
Or he recognizes Horatio right at the top, but doesn't address him immediately. I'm glad to see you well, Horatio. It needn't be,
Do with or else I do forget myself.
Or I'm not, I don't know who I am. If I'm mistaken that you're not Horatio.
Okay, you're taking the same meaning for it.
Yeah. He just left Wittenberg. He left Horatio in Wittenberg to come home for the funeral.
Not that long ago.
Yeah. So there's something affectionate between these two men. A real trusting friendship. And it'll get stronger as the play goes on. But it seems to me there's something after Hamlet's soliloquy. This is a moment of joy, of seeing someone who he truly loves as a friend.
Can I also add to that, because there are two lines that have come before that moment, and that hail. Hail is not hello.
That's right.
Not just hello. So it always has to do with respect for someone who is higher than you.
Yes, and Horatio is that.
What you're saying, Randy, I'm just trying to point out to everybody, I'll show why that works, is that his behavior, that Horatio's behavior is as a servant.
Yes.
So would you let me finish?
Well,
I'm agreeing with you.
Get to your point. Get to your point.
Well, stop interrupting. My point is that The greeting is one of profound, not of friendship, but of respect for a higher up.
That's right.
So when Hamlet sees who it is, then he's overjoyed. But I think that that's the first response is to the hail to your lordship.
Yeah.
Then, okay, we agree. I'll leave it at that. Otherwise,
Can we go back to that thing that Lee was talking about? Because I have a question about it. When Hamlet says, methinks I see my father, and Horatio says, oh, where, my lord? As a director, would you allow that to get a laugh? Because I know it often does.
no doubt.
Sure.
There's no way you can control it. I think that you know, it's this, what's that? There's another line, and I forgot what play it is. It always gets a laugh, and it's I think it's in Macbeth. Oh, it was a stormy night, you know, when
Oh yes,
Oh, right.
yes, it was a rough night.
it was a rough night.
It was a rough night. Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
sorry.
So you have to,
Yeah.
so I, at least every time we did it, it got a laugh.
Sure.
But I think in a way it's good that it does, because it sets up, we'll pull that back to the seriousness that's about to follow. But
He knew
that's
what he was doing.
yes. And I think that, yes, I think that I would stage it in such a way that Hamlet is somehow facing Horatio. And so when he says, my father, methinks I see my father, Horatio can turn, can actually think he's seeing the ghost, as opposed to a kind of drifting off somewhere where Horatio could see it's not the ghost, you know?
Did we get a laugh when you did it back at APT in
Yeah, a chuckle.
87?
Sure.
I would say a chuckle, but a recognition on the audience's part, because they went through what these men went through on the battlements in the first scene. So, you know,
Listen,
without
we got a laugh
mistake.
in Merchant of Venice when Shylock said yes to eat pork. Audience laughed. I think you have to allow the audience to do, I don't think you should play it for a laugh, but I think you have to allow the audience to respond the way they will, you know?
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have Marcellus and Barnardo duck for cover on that
No,
line, which
no,
I
you
have
need
seen.
the slapstick
I have
version. It
seen
can be
that in
subtler
many
than that, a little more
productions.
nuance.
Yeah, I've seen them really go for the laugh on that line.
Yeah, no. Simple.
It's not necessary. That's the only thing. You set the tone with those things.
And so getting back to, I think what Larry pointed out, there's the moment. Oh, where, my lord? In my mind's eye, Horatio. Because that's got to be startling to Hamlet too. Where, my lord? In my mind's eye, Horatio.
What else do you think?
You know why? Yeah. And then
Why are you being so odd, Horatio? Why aren't you answering my questions? Why, when I say, why are you here from Wittenberg, you don't say, why do I directly say, when I ask, why are you here in Elsinore, you don't answer directly? What the hell's going on, Horatio? Which is great. Just builds the stakes and the tension. I love it.
And then we move on to, I saw him once. He was a goodly king, and that's that semicolon. He was a goodly king.
Yeah.
And Hamlet, again, it doesn't fill in the ghost moment yet. Hamlet's response, you know, he was a man. Take him for all in all, I shall not look upon his life again, his like again. Now we open the door. Yesternight. And this is where, Liz, I think the shortness of those of saw who it is a moment of what, you know in that Dr. Flatter book, Shakespeare's Producing Hand, he talks about Hamlet meeting the ghost, and he says that when the ghost speaks for the first time, mark me, most Hamlets say, mark me, I will. And he shows that because it's got to be the most startling moment for the audience and for Hamlet, it needs its time. So mark me, I will.
Yeah.
Whole different play. I mean, a whole different moment. So I think that's what we need, not that rendering, but that idea of saw who, has to happen. Because what Horatio is saying is it's impossible that you saw my father. He's dead.
Yeah.
Right? And he repeats it. My lord, right? The king, your father. The king, my father. And I think you want to show that. You don't want it to just be the king, my father. You know, it needs its time. Hamlet needs to take that moment in.
We
You know, this may be. Good.
I was just going to say briefly, Ben. We create the next ghost encounter moments.
Yep.
Starting here.
Yes.
Yep.
That's all. Yeah.
I was just going to say back to the Hamlet Horatio, relationship, which is, I think, for a lot of, it's one of my favorite relationships in all of these plays.
Yeah.
And I just heard it again. This is so obvious, but I just heard it as we were just talking back through that I feel like what Horatio might be waiting for is, you've got Barnardo and Marcellus there, and that complicates it. But that there is this nice human. I can't jump right into this ghost that we have to complete. And there's this just lovely moment of acknowledging the father and his death, and I'm never going to see a guy like him again. And then Horatio, to me, that actually really speaks to a kind of friendship there. The Horatio there has to be a natural moment of acknowledging of the human being that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go on. I feel like that's very different than if this wasn't, that to me is so specific to the Hamlet Horatio relationship, that we see demonstrated that we're going to get to know, over the course of the play.
Yep.
I don't know. It may be obvious, but I just sort of.
I think too, Ben, Horatio's got to respect Hamlet's grief.
Yeah.
He was at the funeral. He didn't show himself to Hamlet, but he saw the grief that the prince was in. So there's a kind of a respect on Horatio's part for what the prince is feeling, perhaps. And why the prince chooses to do his little jokes about the thriftiness of the wedding and all of that. I imagine that Horatio understands the hurt that the prince must be feeling because of the hasty marriage.
Yeah.
And he doesn't move on until Hamlet actually says something in a non-cheeky way.
That's right.
Hamlet actually says a real thing. Okay,
That's right.
cool. Yeah.
About his father.
Yeah.
And what he says when he says he was a man.
Yeah.
Take him for all in all, I shall not look upon his like again. That the love for that father is profound, and Horatio is witnessing that too. Now you're playing Horatio, and you have to bring in.
Yeah.
I think I saw him yesternight. That's another moment, Ben, and I think you're right on the right trail there. The sensitivity between these two men. Yeah. And again, it's human sympathy. It's there's not much more you can do but acknowledge what's being said. I do want to point out one other thing, because then as you go through the script, you may notice it. Hamlet has a real admiration for his father being a man, for being manly, for being brave, for being courageous, for being everything that a man is. So when he's not just saying, well, it was only a man, he's a man and a man is a man. He's not saying that. He's saying, I won't look upon his like again, because he was a man and everything that a man is supposed to be, not allowing the winds to visit his mother's face too roughly. All of his father's behavior measured up to the best of men. So that man carries with it something greater than the way when girls get together and they talk and they say, oh, man, it doesn't have that, diminished quality. It's packed with respect. It's why Hamlet says, as I to Hercules. Hamlet acknowledges that he is not that. And he will make references through it throughout the play about that. He knows he's not the man his father was. That's another part of his dilemma. We'll get to it.
And it's also his responsibility, and it's the duty part of things that just keeps coming up. And it comes up with Claudius's dressing down of Hamlet. It's fault against this, fault against that, fault against that.
Yeah.
Hamlet is actually the opposite of that. He is the thing that respects virtue and honors the kingdom and place and order and all of that. So this is, let me just say this quickly now. This is one of the great benefits I'm getting from slowing the pace down to this level so that we can actually not just acknowledge, yeah, I know that happens. Yeah, that happens. Yeah, I know, which is de rigueur for anything in our business, because we're not given the time to explore and take it apart and really reckon with it on its own level and just absorb it and then move on. So this is
Annie, I got a question.
Another scansion thing here, just about in the section we were looking at, because when season your admiration for a while with an attent ear till I made this marvel to you, and then that's only half a line too. And it's so Hamlet is now about to hear something amazing, and I think he has to take in what is he going to tell me, or what, you know, before he says, "For heaven's love, let me hear."
Yes.
I think there's a moment there too.
Yes.
And you got me on my scansion stuff now.
Builds the
That's great. And we'll get to that in a moment, because I think you're absolutely right. I want to look at the whole segment, but go ahead, Jim. Let me hear your.
Oh, thank
Sorry,
you.
I didn't mean to.
My father, methinks I see my father, there's a period. Does that mean there's a little pause there?
Is it Liz, is it, you have the script in front of you? I don't have the.
Ere I had
I'm trying to
ever
find where
seen
that is.
that day,
lost it.
Horatio, my father, methinks I see my father. Is that a period or is that a comma?
Period.
Period.
It's period.
Period.
Okay, my question is, why does he say my father, methinks I see my father?
Well, I think everybody's going to have a different take on it. I think it's because Horatio reminds him of his father. I think it's because Horatio's.
Oh, that's very good.
And he's not been allowed
Not that
to
he's looking.
speak
I'm not
about
saying
his
that he's
father.
acknowledging Horatio.
He's been told not to think about his father. And in the presence
right.
of Horatio,
Very
he
good.
can.
Yes.
Also, too, he sees his father in the soliloquy. He sees his father telling the winds, "Don't blow on her face too roughly." He sees his father being loving to his mother, you know? So his father is present in his mind's eye.
Yeah.
And coming
That's
what
part of
I
his.
just said
Yeah.
is, would I had my dearest father? I mean, I think it's like, I think I see him seeing this awful, acknowledged Horatio, this is the worst, the worst condition things could be in. And I can almost see him looking, frowningly at this or something. I don't know.
Thank you.
I hear what you're saying. Interesting.
Liz, what were you going to say?
No, I was now. I was just turning my pages and checking.
Oh.
I don't think I have anything.
I don't. So Jim, I mean, I think that again, I believe that every line gives birth to the next line.
Right.
So I would like to, see what is it in what's happening between Hamlet and Horatio that makes that come out of Hamlet. I don't think it just rests in its own world that Hamlet is hallucinating. I think that it's a moment by these two men coming together, and Horatio reminds him he hasn't been reminded of his father, except in the soliloquy when he was alone. But now it's he has someone who can share that with him.
And he says he came for the funeral, so
Yeah.
that his father has been referred to already.
Yeah.
Horatio.
Very good. Thank you.
Carrie, what can you say?
I was just going to say, I wonder if it could connect at all to this idea of heaven. He says, facing his worst foe in heaven. And then he thinks of his father. Does it have some connection to that?
Right.
Yep.
But I think you do have to somehow, something has to connect. And
Yeah.
then again, in the actor's hands to I think it's a highly personal moment for Hamlet, but it's a shared moment. It's not like he steps over to the side of the stage and, I think that because Horatio is there, and it's going to end up with Horatio saying, "Oh, where, my lord?" you know, and I think what Larry pointed out, that has opened a door now to moving ahead with what they saw in that parapet, you know.
Great.
When you ask why, I shake, because I don't know that we know all of the answers to why, because I think they're acting moments. They're acting moments. I think the text can tell you what's being said. I think the scansion can tell you pauses and interpretation. But in the end, I know I've said this in every session, if you don't have actors to do it, you do not have a play. And so that part of that acting is your imagination. That's why I love these sessions, because everybody's coming up with some take on it that I feel like we should get up on our feet and stage it, because that's the next step to really finding out the possibilities. Yeah. Okay. So now let's examine the next moments. Saw who?
Oh.
King, your father, the king, so it hasn't settled yet, right?
Right.
And I think now, Liz, this comes to this moment. Horatio's response to Hamlet is, wait, let me pull up my computer went out. That's why I don't have the script in front of me. But if somebody would just do those lines, Lee, could you just do them so we can put them on the table and look at it?
My lord, I think I saw him yesternight. Saw who? My lord, the king, your father, the king, my father.
And now,
your admiration.
Sees in your eyes. So that tells you that that Hamlet, in delivering saw who, the king, my father, has to be filled with a sense of surprise, shock, wonder, admiration, right? And here's the setup. This is where I always find the scene goes too fast. This is ghost story around a fire.
Yeah, we got to go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And remember, the audience needs this because the audience saw part of this. So the audience is going to check with Horatio to see if he's right, or if he's describing what they saw in that first scene. A figure like your father. So he doesn't say your father. He says a figure like your father, armed at all points. I cannot stress to you how important armed is. That's why things are not well. If he came back, and he will come back in the closet scene in a nightgown, you know, but he's in armor, and he makes a point of saying capape, complete armor, ready for battle. And we're in Denmark that has made all of these things okay because there's a war about to happen. So armor is very important, right? And Hamlet will say it again, armed say you. And then in the end of the last part of it, he'll say, my father's spirit in arms.
In arms, yeah.
So that's a major part of it. It's not, I mean, a lot of times the scene is done where people simply think the father coming back is the total surprise of it, or shock of it, or importance of it. But that isn't it. It's all of the things that go along with that. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Can we
take really interesting? Oh, never mind. We'll get to it later.
Go.
Well, I was just noticing, just going back to the first scene again, you know, the it's versus he's when it comes to the ghost, and how in the first scene the ghost is almost entirely an it. And then in this scene, when they bring up the ghost to Horatio, the ghost is now a he. And then Hamlet brings it back to it as they ask all the questions, and then they sort of leave it as an it again. So it's an interesting, I just was noticing, which I had never noticed before we did that first scene, just tracking through the it's versus the he's.
Yes.
In the ghost just was fascinating to me. Who's calling it what says something about where they are
all these
in the belief
distinctions
process.
add up. All of these distinctions add up to impact for the audience.
And it's because Horatio knew him. He's not just, you know, that's probably why he can personalize him.
Yeah.
And look at the series of questions that Hamlet will have now. Remember, Hamlet studied at Wittenberg. So these are not questions that are simply about his father. These are questions that also he's searching to see. Spirits do not come back. And if they come back, they're demonic. It's rare that a benevolent figure comes back, and that's only because God allows them to come back to rectify something that they did when they were alive. But they don't come back. And I've said this before, this is the first time on the stage that a ghost comes in anything other than a shrouding sheet, screaming from the grave. And you're told not to talk to ghosts. But this ghost, what's particular about this ghost is it looks like the father, it's in armor, and now we're going to move on to some of the other questions that Hamlet will ask about it. So can we, maybe we should just jump right to that section so we can hear those lines out loud. Randy, you want to do Horatio? Lee, you want to do Hamlet? Ben, you want to do Marcellus? Larry, do Barnardo. Okay.
From where?
The top?
Yeah, the top is fine as long as we. I'm mostly wanting people to focus now on the questioning.
Okay.
Hail to your lordship.
I am glad to see you well, Horatio, or I do forget myself.
The same, my lord. And your poor servant ever.
Sir, my good friend, I'll change that name with you. And what make you from Wittenberg, Horatio? Marcellus.
Good, my lord.
I am very glad to see you. Good even, sir. But what in faith make you from Wittenberg?
Truant disposition, good my lord.
I would not have your enemy say so, nor shall you do mine ear that violence to make a truster of your own report against yourself. I know you are no truant, but what is your affair in Elsinore? We'll teach you to drink deep ere you depart.
My lord, I came to see your father's funeral.
I pray thee, do not mock me, fellow student. I think it was to see my mother's wedding.
Indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon.
Thrift, Horatio. The funeral baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables. Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven ere I had ever seen that day, Horatio. My father. Methinks I see my father.
Where, my lord?
In my mind's eye, Horatio.
I saw him once. He was a goodly king.
He was a man. Take him for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again.
My lord, I think I saw him yesternight.
Saw? Who?
My lord, the king, your father.
The king? My father?
Season your admiration for a while with an attent ear, till I may deliver upon the witness of these gentlemen this marvel to you.
For heaven's love, let me hear.
2 nights together had these gentlemen, Marcellus and Barnardo, on their watch, in the dead vast and middle of the night, been thus encountered. A figure like your father, armed at all points exactly, cap a pie, appears before them, and with solemn march goes slow and stately. By them thrice he walked, by their oppressed and fear-surprised eyes, within his truncheon's length. Whilst they, bestilled almost to jelly with the act of fear, stand dumb and speak not to him. This to me in dreadful secrecy impart they did, And I with them the third night kept the watch, whereas they had delivered both in time, form of the thing, each word made true and good, the apparition comes. I knew your father. These hands are not more like.
But where was this?
My lord, upon the platform where we watched.
Did you not speak to it?
My lord, I did, but answer made it none. Yet once methought it lifted up his head and did address itself to motion as like as it would speak. But even then, the morning cock crew loud, and at the sound it shrunk in haste away and vanished from our sight.
'Tis very strange.
As I do live, my honored lord, 'tis true, and we did think it writ down in our duty to let you know of it.
Indeed, sirs. But this troubles me. Hold you the watch tonight?
We do,
We
my
do,
lord.
my lord.
Armed, say you?
Armed, my lord.
My lord.
From top to toe?
My lord.
My lord, from head
to foot.
Then saw you not his face?
Oh, yes, my lord. He wore his beaver up.
What? Looked he frowningly?
A countenance more in sorrow than in anger.
Pale or red?
Nay, very pale.
And fixed his eyes upon you?
Most constantly.
Would I had been there!
It would have much amazed you.
Very like. Stayed it long?
Oh, well, while one with moderate haze might tell 100.
Longer.
Not when I saw it.
His beard was grizzly? No.
It was, as I have seen it in his life, a sable silvered.
I'll watch tonight. Perchance 'twill wake again.
I warrant you it will.
If it assume my noble father's person, I'll speak to it, though hell itself should gape and bid me hold my peace. I pray you all, if you have hitherto concealed this sight, let it be treble in your silence still, and whatsoever else shall hap tonight, give it an understanding, but no tongue. I will requite your loves. So fare you well. Upon the platform, 'twixt 11 and 12, I'll visit you.
Our duty
to your honor.
Your love, as mine to you. Farewell. My father's spirit in arms? All is not well. I doubt some foul play. Would the night were come! Till then, sit still, my soul. Foul deeds will rise, though all the earth o'erwhelm them to men's eyes.
Okay. So every time we do it, it's different. There's something new about it. I think the questioning, what I wanted to do is zero in on those questions that Hamlet has. Liz, going back to the king, my father, when that was a short line.
Yes.
I think that may be one of the moments where somebody looks around to make, because here we're going to get to the actual description of what these men saw, and nobody should know about it. So that's a possible, just checking out to make sure, no one is nearby, to set up what's about to be said, which is the thing that they don't want anybody to hear. And because that's where it starts, for God's love, let me hear, the king, my father, and Horatio begins, and when you were doing it, I started to think about how we entrust Horatio with the description of events. He did it with Fortinbras, he did it with the Battle of Old Fortinbras, and now he's telling us exactly what happened, when he met with the other men. So when he's trustworthy in giving us the explanation of what happened. Now Hamlet starts his question, but where was this? Okay, this is important. It was where they kept the watch. What was the ghost doing there? In armor,
Yeah.
And again, question, I don't think there's a definite answer to it, but it's definitely there.
Yeah.
And did you not speak to it? And Horatio says, yes, I did, but it didn't answer. Hamlet's putting all of this together so he can come to a conclusion. What is interesting to me is because there's discrepancy in this, that he has to see it for himself. Because if you notice, Horatio, Hamlet's first response to Horatio, his whole speech about it lifted its head as if it would speak, but even then the cock crew loud. Hamlet will know that that is a sign that it was a potentially demonic spirit. That is strange. That's part of the strange. Not that it's just strange that a ghost appeared, the cock crowing and the ghost not responding is part of that strange. It shrunk in haste away and vanished. And then Horatio he says it's strange. It's almost disbelief to strange. And Horatio has to say, no, it is true. And here's another important moment. And we did think it were down in our duty to let you know of it. He's implying that he's not going to Claudius, that you're the person that we have felt should have this information, not the King of Denmark. Hamlet says, indeed, right? But it troubles me. Now he's moving the next, Sarah. Are you going to be there tonight? Yes, okay. And again, armed, say you, my lord, from top to toe.
Yeah.
Well, then you didn't see his face. Maybe it could be any soldier. No, he wore his beaver up. I did see his face. Now, this next part is questionable. I always have. What looked he frowningly? A countenance more in sorrow than in anger.
Well, go ahead. Yep.
No, I'd like to hear.
Hamlet goes forward with, well, I can distinguish that. Was it pale or red? Nay, very pale. Okay, then I know what it was.
Yes.
Or I can confirm. Sorry.
My question, however, is more about what we saw or what we need to see in the first.
In the playing of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy. I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
This is a description.
That's all right. Yeah, there you go.
This is a description like a close-up. You're confused with it is offended, see it stalks away. That was one expression that the ghost had when they first encountered it. But the final expression that Horatio gets a full look at is the ghost's final look before he disappears.
Yep.
And it's sorrowful.
And so it's what we have to play in that. Horatio,
that's right.
Cross it though it blasphemy. Horatio now has a full frontal view.
That's right. The audience doesn't see, the audience is too far away to actually see this expression. So it's through this description that they get to see it, what Horatio saw.
Now the question comes up, the word pale can be somebody whose blood is drained out of them because they are so sorrowful, but it can also be the hottest part of a fire, a kind of anger that is pale. You're paled with anger. It comes up in Richard II. Yeah. So it has a double meaning. And the reason I think that is important is he's got to see for himself, because we have Horatio describing it, but maybe he didn't read into it what Hamlet might read into it. So he's starting to put it together to realize I have to be there, because he says, and he fixed his eyes. Most cons, I had been there.
So instead of leading to results for Hamlet, it's almost leading to more uncertainty in a sense.
Yeah, you need more specifics. You need to see it yourself.
Yeah.
Because even now with the two guys, longer, they're giving a different report than Horatio is now. So no, there's another reason for him to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he decides am I over time?
No, you're not overtime, Annie. Sorry. I just wanted to check in to see, the conversation is great. You can absolutely press on. I just wanted to check in if you wanted to have time to try to do the entire scene 2 from the very beginning, not just this section.
You're not going to be able to.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just
No.
wanted you to know if you had time.
We would have loved to, but yeah.
It would take us probably right until about time. It's about 17, 18 minutes, but there's still a lot we can talk about.
The last moment now that I want to finish up here with, I'll watch tonight. It'll walk again. I know I guarantee it will.
You want to say walk, by the way, or wake, because folio has wake.
I want what the folio has.
Okay.
Wake, right?
Okay.
So, and his point is, if it looks like my father, I'll speak to it, though hell itself. He understands that this may be a demonic figure. Because remember, he's going to have a speech later on how the devil can tempt you by putting on a pleasing form to do what he wants you to do. But he is going to accept that it may be, but he doesn't care. He is going to question this. And he begs them to keep keep silent about it. I will requite your loves. This one, another little moment where when Claudius tells Voltimand Cornelius to go, and he says, let your haste commend your duty. Hamlet says, I will requite your love. So we see the difference. We even see the difference between leaders, how they deal with the people who are under them. And that will happen, of course, at this, I will requite your love.
Well, and also, Annie, his correcting them when they all say our duty to your honor, he corrects them and says your love, not your duty, your love.
Right. It's further evidence of, gosh, we wish he were king.
Yeah.
So, okay. Go ahead, Michelle.
One thing that struck me about the scene when I was hearing it, how many times, particularly at the beginning, they use the word see, watch, sight, look. It's kind of like preparing you. You know what that Horatio wants to talk about, and also as it reflects on Hamlet's need, that he's going to need to see this for himself. But I mean, it's a huge number of times in a small scene that those images, that those words are used.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. I mean, look what we're finding out. We're finding out that there's everything has something to look at, to figure out. I mean, you're never going to get all of it. I mean, Randy and I started our first production in 1974. We did our first production, and we did it at the Guthrie. Then we did it at the Guthrie. I was asked to be a dramaturg for it, but it was really cut down. And then finally, we did our own full version at American Players Theater. And here we are, 50 years later, and we're still learning about it. I wish, as I see what's happening in the world and in our country today, I wish those of us in the theater would understand what an important contribution we can make by allowing these masterpieces to be heard and not doing too much doctoring with them and not thinking we know better. They are masterpieces. You wouldn't change a smile on the Mona Lisa, but you think nothing of cutting the arms off of Hamlet. But I know they can change people. And they don't, and the important thing about it is when you listen to these speeches, you think, my God, that's just like what I heard yesterday. So that you start to see that over 400 years, nothing has changed because we haven't learned the lessons. At any rate, that's my pitch to anyone who's young. When I'm dead and they're watching this, I hope you just respect it with all your might, because I'm telling you, it will make a difference in people's lives. I'm done.
You're here. I would thank you very much, Annie. I would like to offer anyone maybe who hasn't asked a question, if there are other observers or audience members or even artists that you just haven't had a chance to ask a question today. If you have something, you can either pop on camera or on microphone or chat while you're thinking about that, and I'll try to scan the screen so I don't miss anyone. There were a couple of things that occurred to me today as I was listening to the session. I really love this idea of how loyal Horatio is to the king in some form. It's very, there's still a lot that you can kind of fill in with your imagination of what exactly was that relationship. But he immediately reminded me of Kent from King Lear,
Yes.
which is it's so clear of
Yep.
how loyal Kent is to Lear, but we don't. Shakespeare didn't give us that same kind of clarity in this play, and yet maybe that same kind of relationship exists. We don't know. But I think particularly for the actor playing Horatio, and maybe the director too, just to kind of be working on that and thinking about what's the backstory here, and how does that drive him through this. I think that's it's just really fast. It just suddenly gives Horatio so much more to consider and contemplate.
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nathan, when Horatio attempts to commit suicide at the end by drinking the rest of the poison, and Hamlet has to stop him, he's doing what Kent does.
Yeah.
We
Right.
see during the course of the play how deeply loyal to Hamlet Horatio becomes.
Yeah.
Even to the point where when Horatio has Hamlet has misgivings about the duel, Horatio says, "I'll go tell them no, we're not going to do this. You're not going to do this."
Yeah.
Randy
Yeah.
or Annie, do you know in the research what actor played Horatio? Do we know that? Which actor in the company, or what other roles that actor played? I'd be so curious just to know, you know what I mean, in the type. There are certain actors,
sure.
and I forget all their names, but like the guy who played Tybalt played a lot of those roles, so it's like, who was the Horatio? I'm curious, like, just what type, do we have any info on that? I'm
It
fascinated.
would have to be mostly speculative, Ben, about how the company cast itself.
Yeah.
In the
I also
Shakespeare
don't
play.
know if it was older, it would have been an older member of the company. Remember that Burbage is in his 30s when he played Hamlet.
Yeah.
So if Horatio is older, then it's going to be an actor who's in his 40s, at least in his 40s. But other than that, there's no way to say exactly, unless I don't know. I don't know.
It would just be so instructive if we knew it was also the same actor who played,
Kent.
yeah, exactly. It'd be really interesting to know, like, is this,
Right.
it might give you a clue, even physically, what Shakespeare was thinking, if you just knew.
Sure.
I'm
Well,
fascinated by that now.
I heard that Burbage was 38 when he did Lear.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, which was considered a little older, those days, I guess. But I think Nathan brings up a really good point about loyalty, how Shakespeare really stresses the loyalty of Gertrude or not.
Yeah.
The loyalty of Claudius to the government, to his brother, to his nephew. And I mean, it has so many layers to it. The sense of loyalty, personal loyalty, and then loyalty, to your nation, to you were going to get ready for a war, and what does all that mean, and all of that, and the stress of that, that loyalty puts on you, and the loyalty he has for his father, and how far should he go with it?
What's its relationship to love?
And Claudius' relationship to loyalty.
Yeah.
Claudius has loyalty to himself,
It's
to
very
his appetites, to
the
his
Horatio and
The big question is, what is he to Hecuba?
or Hecuba to him.
Listen, I'm sorry. I do want to, I have to add one little thing that I left out. I hate to go back like that, but remember his beard was grizzly?
Yes.
Okay. In the quarto, it's grizzled, which means gray. All right. In the folio, it's grizzly, which means terrifying.
What?
It means ferocious. It means, yeah. And here's the thing that, and Horatio's going to say it was as I saw in his life, sable silvered. But here's what Hamlet's asking, because a ghost that comes from the grave would have a grisly beard. It would be a ferocious, a terrifying figure. And Horatio's saying, no, it was a figure of royalty, a respected figure with a beard that was sable silvered. So I just
sable being regal.
One of the things that I left out. Sorry, I hate to go back, but I'm sorry.
No, great point. Great point. Listening to these the conversations today, I was also thinking, it almost feels like what we're doing here is the difference between reading the book and then watching the movie. That there's so much packed in each line that you couldn't possibly hope to cover it all in a film or even in a stage play. But to discover that there is so much going on and there's so much to consider, and obviously there is no one version of it, but just to, as you guys, Randy and Annie, talk about so much, to give people inspiration, to inspire them to think of different things that will excite them to do. It's just really fun, imagining. And I don't know if Shakespeare knew how much he was putting into every line, but it's just the fact that there is so much in every line is really extraordinary. It's just kind of a level of work that I think is hard to comprehend, but it's just extraordinary.
I like to add to that this particular, it has been just great. I mean, we're going to continue with many of you, I hope, but to this particular group, I swear we feel like we're becoming more and more of a little company of
a club.
Something that everybody has something to contribute to it, and it's just, I couldn't have asked for a nicer group of people to come together and look at this play, other than Randy, who disagrees with me.
That's why he's here, Andy. That's why he's here.
But today was the first time Randy ever disagreed with you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
I want to echo, Annie, what you were saying about the legacy of the folio, the legacy of the bard, and the masterpiece of it. I remember in Spring Green when we were doing Romeo and Juliet, and from the folio, word for word, and I looked out at the audience as I was coming down in the crypt, which I do frequently. I want to include them to what I'm doing, and anyway, and I could see people crying, and they were teenagers. It was in the afternoon, it was a matinee or something. And they were, either that or they had bad allergies, but I think they were crying.
One of my favorite stories about APT was the young girl who came to see, I think it was Midsummer Night's Dream, and she went to see the Planet of what's the Star Wars sequel?
The Jedi, the Revenge of the Jedi, or Return of the Jedi.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. To see that, and her mom said to her, "So what did you think?" And she said, "It was great, Mom, but it wasn't Shakespeare." And when I heard that, I thought, okay, whatever we're doing on that hill, yeah, pretty nice.
Annie, the two books you mentioned today, The Masks of Hamlet.
Rosenberg. Okay,
and the other one, was it Shakespeare's Producing Hand?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Richard Flatter, Flatter.
Thank you. By the way, that session that we had was fantastic. I hope we can do it again, especially for the ghost preparation.
Anytime. Every time I do those sessions, I find things out, and it's for me, it's as much of an education as it is for anybody that I work with. So I love it.
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
those Rosenberg books, by the way, Annie, you turned me on to those
Mhm.
when I did my Hamlet, what, 8 years ago, and I picked up they're hard to find.
Yeah.
I find old library copies, but I picked up the one from Mac and the one for Lear, and they're incredibly useful. They are.
There's one for Othello too, Ben.
Yes, that's what I haven't been able to find yet.
Yeah.
But I also haven't worked on Othello since then. I've hit the other two plays. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, they're wonderful. I wish there were more of them. They're
Yeah,
really
you know,
great.
they're getting expensive too. And I think
Yeah.
the one that's really expensive right now is the Renaissance Hamlet.
Yeah.
So if you have a copy of that, hang on to that one, because that one, Randy and I got ours at Coliseum Bookstore in a sale.
Barnes and Noble.
Was it Barnes and Noble?
Yeah.
Well, we got it for $12 in the sale rack, and now they're quite a bit of money. So
with the little bit of time we have left, I was curious. You know, it almost feels like we've done a mini play in this session, just all the different parts of the scene. But thinking back to the beginning, as people kind of, you know, let the whole scene wash over you, are there, you know, new ideas you've come away with? I'm sure there are plenty, but are there things, specific things that you want to highlight or talk about? You know, thinking about, you know, Claudius's speech and all those exchanges, Voltimand and Hamlet's soliloquy. Yeah, is there anything that you want to bring to the forefront of just that particularly excites you about this scene, or where we're going? I'd love to hear from any members of any of the artists or audience. Lee, yes.
Yeah, I would just like to say that something I observed that I think is really important for the you know, the curve of the play, the sweep of the play, is that the preceding scene, the court scene, when I thought about this earlier, where are the other characters at the end of that scene? Claudius is launching his kingship.
Yeah.
Gertrude is launching, and Claudius together their marriage. Laertes is launching himself back to school. So there are a lot of like potential positive outcomes being go to Norway and take care of this, you know, and then so to me it's the counterpoint in Shakespeare's writing and how feckin' beautiful it is. And if you shortchange what precedes in any way by cutting, you just have to know that what you're doing is undermining the counterpoint of that, and there's energy and power, I think, dramaturgically in keeping the whole intact.
yeah.
Does that make any sense? I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I'll
that
add
then
to
the
that.
intrigue of this scene, I
Yeah.
feel, just has fertile ground to really take off, especially the way things are situated.
Absolutely, and I think it's also, you know, it may be a factor of short rehearsal periods or just not having enough time in general.
Oh yeah.
But I think this work really, you know, at least shows me how thoughtful, even if you had an 8-week rehearsal period, just how thoughtful you need to be about what you're doing and how you're approaching these lines and interacting with different characters. And of course, that's the challenge is we never have enough time to rehearse these scenes. But I think what's also, to your point, Lee, it's not playing the end of the play at the beginning. That you know,
Please, yeah.
it's a very exciting time for Claudius, and he's not just a black and white villain. You know, all these things that have kind of become stereotypes or just we wash these characters in some ways with very very broad strokes. That I think what we're seeing is there's so much going on with every one of them, and there's so much possibility and excitement for some of them, and things can change so quickly for Hamlet of just, you know, finding out this little. Now, of course, we as an audience who are familiar with the play know where this is going, but these characters don't. They have no idea what's
And
coming
we
around the
don't
corner.
really as audience. It's
Sure,
like,
yeah.
you know, the most common stories. We think we do, but when we're in it, we don't anymore. We
Right,
give up.
right.
We surrender.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So no,
Find
great
that
points.
what the audience know. You know, we all assume the audience knows Claudius killed the old king. Many don't. They don't know the
Right.
story. But it's like Oedipus. We know how Oedipus ends. But if you're doing a great production of it, you really feel at some point that it might change. But that's playing it in the moment, you know? So I think that we have to always remember, always approach it as if the audience does not know that Claudius has killed the old king. Rather than assume that, oh, it's such an old, you know, everybody knows this story, so that's what it must be. So.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many documentaries I've watched that you know the outcome is tragic, and you're watching the person's life, and you're like, well, maybe they'll turn it around. And it's like, no, you know where it's going, but you're just kind of rooting for them in some ways. So yeah, I think absolutely there's that quality, you know, to bring to the work. That's wonderful. Any other final thoughts here? I mean, we've covered so much in these 4 weeks, and to echo Annie's comments, it's really been such a joy to listen to the conversations and to hear the work and the words come alive. So, you know, thank you everybody for your participation over the last few weeks.
You know, with regards to the next round, where we spend the afternoon with the Polonius family, we get to see in detail who Claudius's right-hand man is and how he deals with his own children, how he governs his own children. And then we go that night to Hamlet on the battlements to meet his father. You know, so all this takes place from the time the play started to when Hamlet meets his father is just 2 nights and a day. That's it.
Yeah.
And we get to find out that Ophelia is not this little milquetoast, wimpy little girl. Hamlet would not be.
Nor is Gertrude.
So to meet Ophelia, I think eyes will be opened about the possibilities of who that character is, as opposed to the green girl that Polonius, and then we dress
think she is.
who Polonius thinks she is. Yeah.
I'm smiling because I love the cliffhanger that you can set up, Randy. That was masterfully done.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, really.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, thank you all so much for your participation and great work over the month. For those watching, you know, please check this, you know, go back, watch the other sessions, go back and watch them 2 or 3 times. You'll probably learn something new each time. I'm sure any one of us, if we did the same, we'd feel the same way. And yeah, we will continue on with Act 1, Scenes 3 and 4 next session. And yeah, very excited to continue work on Hamlet with all of you. And thank you all again. We'll talk again soon and meet again soon.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Nathan.
you.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks.